change the background music to this. Okay. I won't change it to that. Alright. Kite Selena Sensei. Reacting to anime hot takes from my community. By the way, for those of you guys who don't know what Kite means, it means hear me out, Selena Sensei. Hear me out. So, here it goes. I'm just gonna put this out there. This isn't going to be an interesting slideshow like I did with my Japanese lesson. I didn't do anything fancy. So, I just have a slideshow so that we can like stay on the topic, right? Like we know what we're talking about. Alright. First, Kite Selena Sensei. This one's long, okay? This one's fucking long. Digimons are better than Pokemons. Okay, that's the hot take here. Digimons are better than Pokemons. Because, one, Pokemon is a franchise only for kids, and it don't have over 50 waifus like Digimon. First off, shit take. Trash take right there. Trash take. You know why? Do you know how many people goon over Pokemon? Like, if you don't know, you clearly have not been on the internet terminally. And for that, I applaud you, first off. Congrats for that. Congrats that you are not terminally online. Because if you were terminally online, you know this statement is false. There are so many Pokemon that people make porn out of, okay? And sure, maybe they weren't made to be a waifu character. Maybe that wasn't the intention of the creators when they first made these Pokemon. Despite that, the reality is we have a lot of fucking Pokemon that people make the most heinous shit out of, okay? I think one, was it that really good example, was it Gardevoir? Was that the name? Like, and then obviously, what is it, a Vaporeon? Right? Like, there is insane amount of porn out there. Okay? And I am pretty damn confident that there is over 50 for Pokemon as well. So, this point immediately gets debunked, okay? Immediately debunked. Second point, Pokemegas are trash in comparison with Digimegas. Now, I don't know about this one because is Digimega a thing, chat? Because I haven't been caught up with Digimon for a long time. I know Pokemegas are a thing. I don't know about Digimegas. Is that a thing now? I've stopped watching Digimon after Digimon Tamers. So, I don't know what the fuck a Digimega mean. Like, is it just like a big version of a Digimon? Like Pokemon is? Or... And Digimon Mega forms are just the last stage of their evolution. That's just an evolution! That's not like you can't compare two different things. You know what I mean? I do agree though. I do agree that Pokemegas are stupid. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't like the whole Pokemon getting big and shit. Like, what the fuck is this? You know? I am in the full agreement. That's not appealing to me at all. But at the same time, again, you can't compare something that's not the equal, you know? That's like comparing an apple pie to sushi. Like, how are you gonna compare when something is so different? You know? So just for that reason, I debunk this too. This is not a valid point. 3. Digimons are talking like humans and have access to all our languages, including dead ones. I don't even know what that means. Including dead ones. I didn't know dead people speak a special language, but I guess this person knows something that I don't. Plus, they have few own digital languages too, but Pokemons don't. Honestly, I don't understand why this makes Digimon better than Pokemon, per se. You know what I mean? I think it's cool, obviously, that Digimon can talk, like, in human languages. But I don't see why that specifically makes Digimon better than Pokemon, because I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, okay? I'd be super fucking annoyed if my pet started talking in human language. That is why I don't play Monster Hunter with the Palico speaking human languages. I keep the Palico speaking in cat languages. Because I don't want to hear a motherfucker in my ear yelling at me, telling me I'm doing something wrong every 2 seconds, okay? I would rather have them meowing in my ear. Does that make sense? So I don't need a little dinosaur telling me what I should be doing when I can have a Pokemon who's like, Charmander, Char, you know, in my ear. I'd rather go with that. Does that make sense? I'm just saying. Okay. Imagine if your pet yelling slurs. Yeah, imagine getting canceled because your Pokemon started saying like slurs. So you have to take responsibility as a Pokemon trainer and you're the one that's getting canceled. I like the Digimon that are little guys, but they have deep voices. and don't get me wrong, chat. I do like Digimon too. Okay? I do like Digimons. But I don't think Digimons are better than Pokemon, if that makes sense. You know? I, myself, like an obedient creature. You know what I mean? I don't want a creature that's capable of, like, debating with me. You know, talking back to me. Like, how dare you? You know? So, I prefer Pokemon over Digimon. Just for that. But I don't think one is better than the other. So no Meowth for you? Meowth's an exception, man. Meowth is not going to argue with me. He's a good guy. At heart. As a matter of fact, for a talking Meowth, I'm the obedient creature, not him. I'm inferior than a talking Meowth. Okay? He's my boss. I don't argue with my boss. Okay? Imagine having a cat saying, "Listen to me, you piece of garbage." I'm not gonna lie, I think that's kind of funny. If my cat did that, I'm not gonna lie, I think that's funny as hell. Will I like it? I don't know, but I think it's funny. Digimon and Pokemon do their own thing. The only thing that's the same is their monster collecting series. True. And again, that's coming from somebody who used to be addicted to Pokemon, okay? Excuse me, Digimon. I was all about Digimon back in the day, too. I knew Soukuro. So, I do think this is a hot take. This is a hot take, and all the points that this person mentioned was easily debunked. Like, it was not strong enough for me to be convinced. Okay? So there's that. This was a long one, so. How you doing, Rarukishi? How's life treating you? Next one. This one's a One Piece related stuff. One Piece could have, and probably should have, ended a decade ago, and now that the series has gone on for as long as it has, there's literally no way it could end that would be satisfying. And then the other one was, One Piece is too long, it takes like 300 episodes until it gets good. Okay, so, for this hot take, your Instagram content is fun. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do plan on putting this on Instagram too, by the way. I'm going to put these clips on Instagram. This one. That's the thing. I do low-key agree with the first statement where it says, there's literally no way it could end that would be satisfying. I am low-key in agreement with this. Because, like, One Piece can end tomorrow, chat. This whole series can end tomorrow. With, I guess, finding the One Piece or something, right? And I kid you not, I think this person is saying the truth that there's not going to be a mind-blowing ending, you know? Unless the artist can come up with something fucking groundbreaking, I don't think there is an ending that will blow our minds out. You know, there's not going to be a satisfying, like this person is saying, satisfying ending that will sum up all the tropes that happened, all the arcs that happened, and like make it feel like a final oomph. You know what I mean? It's gone too long. It has been going on too long. So this is going to be very hard to end it in a way that the fan, like every fan, is going to be like, that was the best ending this series could have gotten. I don't think it's not. I don't think it's impossible, but it's definitely not easy. It's gonna be so fucking hard to come up with something like that. In the time of One Piece has been going on, I was born, went through, like, One Piece was like back when I was a fucking goo goo gaga baby too. Like, it's actually insane. Have Luffy being executed and then, okay, never mind. If Luffy gets executed, that would be a mind-blowing ending. I'm not gonna lie. I think you're cooking, Nymphie. I think you're on something, Nymphie. If Luffy gets executed, not many fans are gonna be happy. I'll put that out there right now. Not many fans are gonna be happy, but is it a groundbreaking ending? 100%. 1000%. It will fucking shake up the world. Like, it will. Will it be a good ending? Probably not, but, you know. The ending would be Luffy pulling up the One Piece from his backside and was hyped. Dude, I would execute Luffy myself if he did that. In Roblox. I would execute him. If he pulls shit like that. As someone who tried to watch One Piece a million times, I agree on One Piece is obnoxiously long. One Piece was around back when Selena was playing Goo Goo Baby. Exactly. I think if Luffy gets executed, there's gonna be like petitions and shit, and there's gonna be like death threats all over the place, and you know, it's not gonna be a civil one. But I'm not gonna lie, I would applaud if that's the ending. I would be like, this artist, this manga artist didn't give a fuck. They just wanted to make a groundbreaking ending, and they fucking did it. They weren't scared of anything, you know. Anyway, how you doing, Gonzo Griff? The second point I will have to disagree with. One Piece is too long and it takes 300 episodes until it gets good. I know they're like over exaggerating. I know they're just like saying 300 as an example, but as somebody who did watch One Piece, there's like really good like episodes at the very beginning, you know, at the very old One Piece, the beginning part, like for instance the Nami and Oren arc, you know, that was phenomenal. But the one with the Sanji, you know, getting Sanji into their crew, that was pretty fucking good too. It doesn't take 300 for this series to get good, you know what I mean? So I don't agree with this second point. This first one, I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah, it's like, yes, One Piece is long as hell, but it doesn't take 300 for it to get good. Like, it might not be your cup of tea, right? And if it's not your cup of tea, it's just not your cup of tea. It's just not your thing. So, you know, you just straight up don't find One Piece entertaining. But it's false to say that it takes so many episodes for it to get good, because I think, if anything, I think One Piece had a very strong start, you know? I think it had a very strong start, and maybe the newer arcs take forever to get good, maybe. I haven't been watching ever since they got Chopper in the fucking gang, so, you know, I don't know how it is now. But maybe now it's hard to stick around. I don't know. So, how you doing, Nacho? How's life treating you? I tried watching One Piece like 4 times and I just can't. Yeah, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. You know what I mean? You left One Piece out of the dust. I mean, it kind of got tiring. Like, I didn't like the whole the Sky arc where they went to the Sky Islands. It kind of got boring from there for me, so I was like, oh, whatever. Because I burnt myself out with the Alabasta arc. I loved the Alabasta arc. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. But I got so tired after that. I was like, oh, finally something big just ended, and I'm just like, you know, that shit was long. You know, but I enjoyed it, so. Anyway, there's that. Next. Oh, here comes a Demon Slayer thing. Demon Slayer is only like a B minus. While I do like it, it's definitely overrated and carried by production value. The source material simply isn't there. Now, I don't know if I'm understanding this statement correctly. I think it's trying to say that Demon Slayer, the anime, is hard carried by the animation? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, being hard carried by the animation, but I guess the manga itself isn't really all that great. Is that what like I still kind of don't understand this statement. So, like, I need chat's feedback of what you think about this statement. I'm not sure if I'm understanding it correctly, so I can't judge it until I actually have a full understanding. You know, Sanji finds the peace, ends up with Nami, and become the ultimate Rizzler. He's always been the ultimate Rizzler, man. Skypiea is a weird one. It has a lot of lore that you can. Yeah, I didn't really like Skypiea. I kind of agree with this. Demon Slayer feels pretty mid, but the animation is top notch. Yeah, the animation is carrying it because of the weak story. Demon Slayer using the "I know you are not bad" for the 100th time. 10th time. They're saying the anime is only good because the animation. I kind of agree, but at the same time, I really don't. Because I really don't think the story is underwhelming. Maybe you guys think that way, but I don't think the story is underwhelming. No, there are weak parts, 100%. For instance, I wasn't a big fan of the whole swordsmith arc, the swordsmith part of the whole franchise. And I'm somebody who actually watched the anime and read all the manga. I actually finished the manga a long time ago. And I do agree that the manga can be pretty insufferable. Because there's a lot of words in the manga. Because, I mean, if you watch the anime, I think you notice, but like, every character, they think a lot in their head, right? As they're fighting, as they're swinging their sword, Tanjiro is thinking like a fucking 4-page worth of like thoughts in his head, right? And they're like saying all that in the anime, right? So you have to listen to him like just going on his head, like if I do this, this happens, and like he's thinking all this shit while he's like wielding a sword. In the manga, you have to read all that, right? Anime, all you gotta do is listen, so it's fine. But in the manga, you have to read everything he's thinking, and that can get pretty fucking tiring. So, I do think Demon Slayer can get a bit obnoxious in that sense, but I don't think the story is weak in general. Like, I think the story, like, I mean, obviously there's weak moments, 100%, just like any other anime, you know? I feel like every anime has, like, a weak arc or, like, a weak moment, but I don't think that takes away from the whole story, the whole franchise. I haven't watched Demon Slayer, but it looks a bit generic to me. Like, I can't see anything in it that I haven't gotten from a ton of other series. Since I never watched Demon Slayer, I prefer staying out of this one cheap respect. I mean, I respect that. I respect that. I don't know. I don't think it's a weak. I don't think the anime is like. I would give it more than the B minus. Is what I'm trying to say. I would give it a B plus or A minus at best. I think. But just because like, and you got to keep in mind. Animation is a big part of an anime. Like yes, of course the quality of the animation is going to affect the overall view of an anime because it's fucking anime. It's animation. You know? Like, if a story is super fucking good but the animation is shit, like, it's going to not be a great anime. You know what I mean? So, like, I think the production value, while it's very important, I don't think it's heavily carried, if that makes sense. It's definitely carried in certain places, but I don't think it's heavily carried in terms of, like, the story and everything. Because, like, there's really good fucking moments in Demon Slayer story-wise. I thought the story and art was pretty meh. It was very average and typical when I read it. Again, I usually prefer manga over anime for the most part, but like for Demon Slayer specifically, I do prefer anime over the manga. The manga was really hard to read. Like, I mean, you know, I have a potential ADHD, so it's like I have a hard time staying focused because like I'm reading all these words and I'm like, you know, there's just too much to kind of like digest, I guess. Whereas the anime makes it way easier because, you know, you don't really have to read anything. You just have to sit there and listen. But I'm gonna say this now. If Demon Slayer if you think Demon Slayer has, like, I guess, weak story and is being carried by production value, I think we can say that for a lot of fucking animes. You know, not just Demon Slayer. I'm not saying, you know, just because other anime is like that, we can't criticize Demon Slayer. I think we can criticize Demon Slayer, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I think this is for a lot of anime, actually, you know? I'm trying to think of an example. Really good animation, but not so great in story. I'm pretty sure I can come up with one. Give me a second. I'm trying to remember, like, all the past... I'm trying to give a recent anime example. Because I think there's a lot. Okay, this is not Boku no Pico. Shut the fuck up. Okay, this is not a recent example. But if you guys know the anime called, what is it? Lotus War? What is it called? Lotus War something? Lotus War. It's a pretty old anime. The animation is beautiful. Like, it was one of those anime back in the time where it was all hand drawn. Record of Lotus War, yes. Record of Lotus War has one of the most beautiful character designs, beautiful animation and shit. But the story itself isn't all that, like, mind-blowing. It's your typical D&D story, if that makes sense. You know? And I say this as somebody who loved the anime when I first saw it, and then I kind of rewatched it after I grew up, and I was like, oh, I don't remember this story being so kind of bland. You know what I mean? It's not horrible. Don't get me wrong. It's not a horrible story. None of like that. It's cute. It's your typical D&D. Yeah. So I think Lotus War is one of the best examples where the animation is just like, oh, fucking beautiful. But the story is just kind of like, okay. Like, you know, I've seen stories like this kind of thing. So I think that's one example. I can't come up with a modern one, though. I'm trying to think. Modern anime that gets hard carried by the animation. If you want a recent one, Solo Leveling has the most basic plot. I've never watched Solo Leveling, but a lot of people say Solo Leveling is like, it's the, what is it? Fantasy anime of the year or something like that. Like, it's really good. Is it that good? Like, the story is it? Okay. That's the kind of impression I got. I feel like the story doesn't seem that strong. Because, like, I haven't seen it yet either. Because, like, every time people praise Solo Leveling, they never tell me what the story's about. They never talk about the story. How you doing, Chosen Samurai? What did you think about the Fatal Frame announcement? Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to play that. I'm definitely playing that day one. Fatal Frame 2 Remake. The animation is great, but the plot is very simple. Yeah. So I feel like it's not unique to Demon Slayer, and even yet, I don't think Demon Slayer plot is that simple. I do think Demon Slayer plot is unique. Sure, it has that whole vampire stuff going on. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you got bitten by a demon, or you got, like, you know, attacked by a demon, and then you become a demon yourself, kind of thing. And so that part is very generic, sure. But I don't know. Not gonna lie, I'm sick of main characters like the one in Demons. You don't like Tanjiro? See, the thing is, like, I like Tanjiro just because, like, well, obviously Tanjiro is not my favorite character because, like, I do like characters that have, like, critical flaws. Because I think the best thing about, like, stories in general is when a character has, like, a character development, right? And Tanjiro does feel like that perfect, you know, good boy. You know, like he is fighting, you know, to get to you know, get his sister back into a human form slash help other people from the demons and stuff like that. And like he's just like the perfect good boy, like, you know. And that being your main character can feel pretty boring and like, you know, um that's why I really like, that's why a lot of people like villains in Demon Slayer, because all these villains have like relatable issues, relatable shit that made them into a villain, right? Like they're justified kind of thing. It's like, yeah, you know, I'd become a fucking demon too if I were you, like, you know? Yeah, demons have more personality and like it's more, they're more relatable because they're not a perfect fucking person, right? Whereas Tanjiro is, so for the most part, he has his flaws too, like obviously, but you know. So I do agree on that. That's why Tanjiro is usually not like everybody's favorite character, right? That's why like Zenitsu tends to be my favorite character because that kid's flawed as fuck. We all know that kid is fucking flawed as fuck, but you know, the flaw makes the good parts stand out more. So the MC needs to be boring shit for audience project. It really is like that, yeah. Like for readers slash viewers to be able to relate and self-insert themselves in the main character's position, you know. But yeah, so there's that, I guess. Next one. This one's funny. Ecchi anime with the story needs to make a comeback. There are definitely a lot of fan service ecchi or borderline. There definitely needs to be a back to some kind of norm. Now, whoever wrote this clearly hasn't watched Nukitashi. Okay? If you want ecchi anime with a plot, watch Nukitashi. It is a recent anime, I think it's still ongoing, with a whole ass plot about having sex. Okay? You clearly have not watched Nukitashi yet. No, not Nakadashi. Zero, I'm gonna fucking whoop your ass. There is so many ecchi anime with crazy fucking plot, okay? If you think I'm kidding, if you think I'm lying, go watch Nukitashi. Episode 1. You only need episode 1. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Go watch episode 1 and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? It's not on the level of Bible Black, but it's up there. It's up there. Okay? They make a whole plot around sex. So, but to a degree though, I do agree with this to a degree. Okay? There is like a lot of like, I guess, I don't think you would really call it ecchi anime, but more like rom-com, right? There's a lot of rom-com anime that like slip in some like empty fan service here and there, kind of like that's like not as, I don't know how to put it, like not as like, you know, meaningful, I guess, you know. They just put in like an upskirt just for the sake of putting an upskirt, you know, not much to do with the plot in general. Yeah, like Fire Force, I guess. Yeah, Fire Force is definitely one of those. Yeah, it's like they just put in fan service for the sake of putting it in to keep the gooners engaged, right? Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think there's a more tasteful way of doing that. You know what I mean? And when I say a tasteful way of doing that, the first thing that comes to my mind is Gintama. Okay. Gintama does tilt more towards dirty jokes rather than ecchi, I guess. But Gintama is the pinnacle. The pinnacle of dirty jokes that's actually fruitful, that's actually meaningful. You know what I mean? I think everybody can agree on that. Gintama is the pinnacle of that, you know? Without making it super weird too, as in like they sexualize women, but it doesn't feel like they're degrading women, if that makes sense. Because they give just as much as fan service for the male characters. 100%. Gintama does it very equally. They sexualize women, then they sexualize men. Okay? It's so balanced out. And they managed to make it a comedy. So, Gintama, the pinnacle of that. 100%. I'm not, like, there's no debate there. Okay? Y'all can argue with me, but I'm not gonna listen. You know? I like sexualizing all the sexes, very base Gintama. 100%. Like, shit, they even sexualize aliens in that fucking shit. Okay? Even aliens are sexualized. There's no discrimination in Gintama. I still love how one episode they messed up the opening on... Yeah, I love that. I love that one too. It's why I respect Yoko Taro. That guy is just open about... Oh, no! My slideshow's like, okay, you're done. There we go. I've heard Gintama is good, but you need to watch Gintama. I 100% assure you, you will not regret watching Gintama. I'm not joking. It's not because it's really good comedy show. And you don't even have to like sit down and actually focus. It's one of those shows you'll still enjoy just putting it in the background. And by the time you notice, it's no longer in the background because you're fucking focused. You are locked in. Okay? The anime itself will do its job to make you focus because it's that good. It's really fucking funny. And the good thing about Gintama is not only is it funny, when it takes itself seriously, it takes itself seriously because there is like a serious arc. There is like actual battle because we need to remember it is still shonen. It is still a shonen anime. It has battles, but a lot of the times it's comedy. It's so fucking good. The balance between seriousness and unseriousness is there. It's fucking amazing. You know? How can we see your latest recommends without it? I'm not gonna lie, I should make an anime recommendation list for you guys. I really should. With like why I recommend it. You know what? I'm gonna make one of those. I'm gonna make one of those when I can't sleep, okay? Which is almost every night. I have a hard time sleeping because of insomnia. But I'll make one of these lists and I will, yeah, Discord exclusive. Yes, you have to be in my Discord server. You know, I don't separate my subscribers from my non-subscribers, but you have to be in my Discord server. I have a recommendation: Hina Matsuri, comedy like Gintama, but totally different spectrum. Never heard of that one. Gintama is so fucking good. Anyway, going back to the ecchi anime with story needs to make a comeback. I do understand where this is coming from. There are, like, I do feel like there's a lot of forced porn, forced, you know, fan service in anime that doesn't necessarily tilt towards ecchi. So I do agree to this to a degree, but if you're saying this right now, make sure you watch Nukitashi first. Because if you want ecchi anime with a plot, Nukitashi is literally all that. Okay. So, there's that. Next. Anime is terrible now because the only people who work on it are fans. It's an in-crowd making fiction and fan service material for a niche audience. If you want good anime, you need creatives from a non-animation background in the writer's room. Hard disagree. Hard disagree. Actual hard disagree. This is 100% a hot take. I think this one's from Zach. Man, why are Italians not cultured? No, I'm just kidding. This is 100% a hot take. Okay, yes, this is sizzling on the grill right now. Okay. The fact that you think anime is terrible nowadays because fans work on it? Like, this makes absolutely no sense. I'm trying to figure out why this makes sense to that person. Because, I mean, let's say, I don't know, you're a chef, right? And your specialty is French food. Like, you make really good French cuisine, right? If somebody is good at making French cuisine, this person is going to do well at a French restaurant. This person is not going to do as good in a Japanese restaurant, a Korean restaurant. You know, they might still do good, but not as good. It's like, it makes no sense. Like, if you're a fan of something, you're going to have the passion in that production, right? And I do understand that to a certain degree, you might miss important details when you're too stuck into a genre. Like, when you're too experienced, or when you're too much of a fan for something, you might miss the opportunity to see things from a different angle. Now, I do agree with that. You know, sometimes you need a different perspective from a different audience to see something fresh, to see something that a fan wouldn't see, right? But to straight up say that Animal is terrible now because fans make them, that is 100% a hot take. 100% not true. 100% not true. And the first off, like, the whole statement of anime is terrible now is already wrong. The anime is terrible now is just screams that you're a boomer, that you're still stuck in the late 90s fucking anime or the early 2000s anime, and you're stuck there and you can't come back from that. You're a boomer who refuses to adjust to the change in time. You refused to evolve with the newer times. Like, I do understand that nostalgia can play a very big part, right? Like, I'm one of those people. I think there are very good anime, old anime, that can never be seen again in this current age, right? But the anime in our current times has their own beauty. It has their own perk. It has their own personality that older animes don't have. You know what I mean? It's really nonsense to say that, oh, animes now are fucking bad. You know, we had it better back in the day. It's like, no, you just failed to adjust to modern times, you know? Which is fine. If you don't like modern anime, that's fine. You know? I'm not saying you have to like what's being served on the table right now. But to say it's terrible just because you don't like it, just because you think that anime back in the day was good, it doesn't make the anime now bad. You know what I mean? Black Lagoon is something like that. I don't see anyone doing something like it. I love Black Lagoon. Oh my god. I love Black Lagoon so much. Blue Box and Aharen-san was wa hakarenai slap. I think I've heard of Blue Box, but I don't know the second one. I think there are a lot of gems still. More time have passed. See, for instance, I will never ever accept this statement right here because of Violet Evergarden. And sure, I might be biased, but Violet Evergarden is one of the most phenomenal anime that we have in this day and age. I'm not even glazing over that. Animation, top notch. Story, top notch. Voice acting, top notch. Absolutely, there's not a single thing I can criticize about Violet Evergarden. It's that fucking. If you guys haven't watched it yet, watch it. It's just fucking phenomenal. And to say that anime nowadays lack, just straight up objectively wrong. Objectively wrong statement right there. Yeah, Violet Evergarden 100%. I rewatch Violet Evergarden at least once every year. Yes, I do that to myself because I have zero self-respect and I'm a masochist and I like to cry over anime. So I do that to myself, but you know, I need to watch Blue Box one of these days. I'm just like, I know I said this before, but I'm so tired. I'm like burnt out from like shonen slash seinen animes nowadays. It's so hard for me to start. It's so hard for me to start a new one. Dress Up Darling. See, I don't mention my Dress Up Darling because I understand why some people won't be able to get into it. Because once again, my Dress Up Darling really focuses on the cosplay aspect while having the rom-com in it. And if you have zero interest in like the cosplay trivia and stuff like that, it's probably going to be a boring anime to you. You know? I can see why a lot of people like when somebody doesn't like my Dress Up Darling, I get why. You know. All right, have a good time at your capoeira, Zero. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it. I suggested to see every people I suggested Violet Evergarden to, they all liked it. They all ended up bawling their eyes out. Not a single person said it was boring. You know, whoever did say that has zero empathy. I'm just going to put that out there. Heart cold as ice. If you can't get into Dress Up Darling, you're a weak. I mean, I agree. I agree, but is Black Lagoon in your top 10 animes of all time? I have to think on that. Because you guys need to keep in mind, I've been watching anime before you guys were even a fetus. Okay? I've been watching anime since I was 2 years old, and I'm not even joking when I say that. I was exposed to anime ever since I remember. And I never stopped watching anime. And when I say that, I have so many favorite animes. So boiling things down to top 10 is going to be super hard. I don't even know if Black Lagoon will make it to top 10 because there's just so many good anime out there. You know what I mean? So one of these days I will give you guys a list of my top 10 and the recommendation list as well. But it's going to be so hard. I'm going to be sitting here for a while thinking. But anyway, trash take. Horrible, horrible hot take. Next. Isekai harem trope is very overused and most of the time the show is mid. I agree. I don't think this is a hot take at all. I think this is a pretty lukewarm take. I feel like a lot of people can agree with this. There's a lot of isekai harem trope that is like so fucking boring. Like, and I know I say this all the time. I hate when the protagonist is a basic bitch. Like, basic bitch, but he has like some superpower to, I don't know, look through people's clothing or, you know, become invisible or some stupid shit. The protagonist usually is like a loser who was very unpopular in his own world. You know, he didn't have any friends. He was a fucking nerd. You know, nothing wrong with being a nerd, but, you know, he was jaded and shit. But then he got isekai'd, and for some reason he has some cool powers now because God likes to play his games. And suddenly he got all these bitches. He got all these hoes around him. Like, I fucking hate those, bro. And I understand. And I understand that these protagonists in these isekai harems trope are supposed to be basic ass men because, once again, readers and viewers are supposed to be able to self-insert themselves in the protagonist so they can relate to the story more. You know what I mean? So they have to be a basic ass, you know, guy that has nothing much to offer other from, I don't know, once again, he could make women naked with the snap of a finger or something like that, you know? It's just so fucking... I should remind people there is an isekai called In Another World with My Smartphone that was real and it got 2 seasons. I'm just saying, like, that's why I hate isekai stuff, man. I really do. Like, I have an allergic reaction to isekai anime. Like, it has to be really fucking good to keep me engaged. How you doing, Sir Wanderer? Okay, thank you so much, Sir Wanderer. You have a good night, too. Like, I don't know if I said this. I think I did. A long time ago. Before I left Japan and I moved to the US, I was at a nail salon in Japan, right? And while I was getting my nails done, the salon had the TV on for us to watch. They had Netflix or something, right? And they were playing, what is it? To be reincarnated as a slime or some shit, right? And it was episode 1. Boring as fuck. Episode 1 and I was already disengaged. I was like, no. Boring ass fucking starter. It was so weak too. Like, episode 1 weak as fuck. Like, if you couldn't get my attention in episode 1, no. I am like, not funny. And the humor was so mid too. Like, a plot can be weak and mid as long as, like, there's, like, humor that can make up for it. But that, like, the humor was so, like, cringe in a not very cute way. You know, it was just so boring. I'm like... So... I don't know. I'm just like, no. This is why I don't do isekais anymore, man. Unless it's gonna be, like, a really good one. Let me tell you the most recent good isekai I've ever watched, okay? Now, when I say it's good, it's not phenomenal, though. It's not a phenomenal isekai, but one isekai that I was able to actually get into is Yaboy Kongming. Which is a reverse isekai where Kongming, I mean, I guess it's not really an isekai because it's in the same world, technically. Because he's a historical figure in China, right? So he dies and he reincarnates into modern day Japan. So I guess it's not really like an isekai, but it's like a reincarnation anime, right? That shit was very creative. I really liked Yaboy Kongming. That was very creative, very good, you know? A famous historical individual in China called Kongming, who was like a strategist for war and stuff back in the day, gets reincarnated to modern day Japan, and he uses his war strategy to help a girl go viral as a singer. And I thought that was really fucking creative, you know? Like, he got mesmerized by her singing. He went to a club during Halloween. And obviously, because it was Halloween, everybody was dressed up. And everybody thought Kongming was, like, just dressed up as Kongming, right? And he wanders off into a club. And in the club, he sees this girl singing. And he was mesmerized by her song. And he simply wanted more people to listen to her song. So he comes up with a plan to make her famous. And I thought that was the most fucking creative plot. I want creativity like that, you know? What kind of club? Just a club. A club you would go to dance and listen to music and get drunk at. But I was like, this is the most creative isekai I've watched in a while. So that's the kind of shit I want. You know, that's the kind of isekai I am craving for. Not some stupid ass fucking basic ass bitch getting all these hoes. For God knows what reason. So I think this is a very lukewarm take. This is not a hot take. This is a very lukewarm, you know, if anything, cold take. Pretty cold take. I love the nerdy sections when the owner asks about certain historical. Yeah. That part is really funny too. How you doing, Tui? I should upload this. I should upload this VOD on Twitch, or excuse me, on YouTube. I should. See how much hate I get for this. Anyway, next. Some manga that gets made into anime, depending on the manga's ending, should be allowed to change endings. I agree with this. I am okay with a manga having a different ending than the anime. Sometimes that goes wrong though. Sometimes this can go horribly fucking wrong. Right? A part of this was, I know a lot of you guys already watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, but before Brotherhood came, do you guys remember the first season, the first Full Metal Alchemist? Do you guys remember the way it ended? It was fucking horrible. And that's the thing though, because the manga was still ongoing. The manga was still ongoing, so they couldn't end the anime. Right? So, but they had to end the anime because anime, I guess, I don't know, it's probably like one of those adult reasonings, you know, we can't keep on making episodes for this series for whatever reason, whatever financial production reason there is, right? So they had to end Full Metal Alchemist one way or another, even though the manga is still ongoing, right? And it was terrible. In my opinion, it was really bad. Okay? But thankfully we got Brotherhood where we got to redo everything and we got the proper ending. Okay? Whether you like that proper ending or not is, you know, debatable. It's up to you, but you know, so it's like, I think it's totally fine for an anime to have a different ending than the manga and vice versa. Whether that be good or bad, you know, that depends on whatever show you're watching or your own interpretation. Sensei, I watched and you thought There Is Never a Girl Online and was the funniest but kind of corny anime. I've heard of that one before. I don't mind them changing the ending, like the Death Note anime changed the ending a little bit. They did. Now that you mention that, yeah. A great example of this, how you doing, Cuball? Of this hot take is Eureka 7. The manga ending was so damn depressing. I have a friend who's trying to get me to watch that so desperately, and I'm just like, I don't know if I'll like it. So I haven't started it yet, but I heard it's really good. If I remember correctly, it was either they end it early or make filler to let them... Yeah, And see, that's how I kind of like stepped away from Inuyasha. And I know Inuyasha got a proper ending. I know they got a proper ending. But when I was still watching it as a kid, they ended the whole series with the whole... and then our, you know, and thus our journey continues. And it's like they didn't even like properly end it. You know what I mean? I was so mad as a child. And they didn't end it. But they had like a huge break after that. And then they came back with like continuing Inuyasha. And then they properly ended it. But I thought that, as a kid, I thought that was the ending. And I was like, this is so trash, bro. I hate when they do the, you know, and thus our journey continues. And I'm just like, what? That fucking pissed me the fuck off. I hated Kagome. Well, you're objectively wrong. There's nothing to hate about Kagome. End of discussion. The person you should be hating is Kikyo. I don't want to hear it. I fucking hate Kikyo so much. There's no reason to hate Kagome whatsoever. You know what I hate the most? It All Was a Dream. I can't come up with any anime that ended that way. Yeah, they're like, our journey will continue, but we ran out of budget. And I get it. It's like, there's reasons behind all this stuff, right? It's like, they probably wanted to continue, but they couldn't for this reason, this reason, this reason. And now that I'm an adult, I understand that. But still, it's like, it still sucks. You know what I mean? One of the things an anime can have to make me hooked, you can make the most boring base. anime ever, but if you put a banger soundtrack, I'm gonna watch the anime. I don't know if a soundtrack can keep me engaged. Like, obviously, I will give credit to the anime if the soundtrack is a banger, but I don't think soundtrack alone could keep me engaged. But that's just me, though. So, what about Sesshomaru? I don't know. Sesshomaru is kind of debatable because, like, we all, because, like, I don't know if you guys have watched Inuyasha. Sesshomaru ends up marrying a girl that he met when she was a little child. To be fair, Sesshomaru is a yokai, so he's been living for hundreds of years, right? And he basically he adopts a girl that was probably like what 10 years old or something, because her village got burnt down, attacked by yokais. She gets killed too, but he brings her back to life with his sword, because he has a sword that brings people back to life if he cut them with it. So he showed like a glimpse of, he's like a Sesshomaru is like the ruthless, he has zero empathy in general, but that was like the first time he showed empathy to a human being, and he actually revived this girl, and she ends up following him around his journey, and obviously, she grows up, right? She grows up to be a teenager, and then they end up getting married, but like, obviously a lot of people found that problematic because, she's a child. Like, but at the same time, you guys kind of have to understand, this is Sengoku era we're talking about in Japan. And not only Japan, but I'm pretty damn sure back in any country's history, people got married when they were fucking 12 or something, okay? So it's not really crazy to think that Sesshomaru, a yokai, he's not even a human, yokai, getting engaged with, a girl that he knew since she was fucking 10 years old. So we do need to keep that into mind when we think when we think something is problematic. Like, it's problematic in this day and age for sure. Waiting for a 10-year-old to grow up to be of age to get engaged, I mean, that's pretty fucking weird. If not completely problematic, but I digress. Anyway, I don't think this is a hot take either. This is also a lukewarm take for me. I think it's totally fair. I think it's totally fine to have to a manga to have a different ending than the anime and vice versa. So he's a groomer no matter what, right? I'm saying. Yeah. Anyway, next. Dubs are usually never better than subs, unless it's so bad it's good. Okay, I know we're gonna have a debate on this one, because you guys know my stance on this. You guys know my stance on this. Now, I would never say dubs are usually never better. Well, actually, I do agree with dubs are usually never better than subs. I will not say, though, dubs are never better than subs, because that's not true. There are so many, I know I say this all the time, there are a lot of good dubs, especially nowadays, because the voice acting has been way better in this day and age for anime. So I will not say never, but usually, though, the way they word this, dubs are usually never better than subs. I do agree with this, because, I mean, yes, sure it's biased, because I grew up with subs. I'm Japanese myself. I understand the language. And as somebody who understands both languages, when I compare them side by side, I still think that subs are better, because Japanese voice acting, to me, has more personality and characteristics than English dubs. Now, I can only speak for English dubs and Japanese dubs, because those are the only two languages that I'm fluent in. Obviously, I probably have a different take for other languages, but if we're speaking solely English and Japanese, I do always think that Japanese tends to be better. So, Ghost Stories, Sewell, that's one of those it's so bad it's good thing. It's so good, it's so bad that it's so good. As a multitasker who can't look at the screen all the time, I rage at this. That's fine though. Okay, if your reasoning of preferring dub over subs is because you have a hard time keeping up with the show reading the subtitles, that's totally valid. Because I don't know how y'all do that. I've done this before. What was it? Oh, when I want to watch like French movies, right? Usually there's no dubs over a movie, a live action movie, right? So I have to read the subs, and it frustrates me too, because when I'm reading the subs, I miss what's going on, like picture wise, right? Like I'm not looking at the picture, I'm not the scene, I'm reading the fucking words, and I do get tired too. So if that's your reasoning, then I totally understand. There's plenty of good dubs. The only people who insist dubs are always worse are weebs that think Japan is some holy. I do agree on that. Abigen-san, subs arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you so much, Abigen-san, for the tier 1 subs. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Arigatou gozaimasu. But yeah, it's like, well, I have a good reason to say that subs are superior than dubs. And like I said, that's because I just feel like Japanese voice acting is better than the English voice acting. And that's not, I don't really want to say it's skill wise. I don't want to say it's skill issues. But I think it's the variation of the voice. And as somebody who understands both languages, every time I hear English voices, they all sound the same to me. It's either you got the protagonist sounding guy, or and then you got the cutesy and the moe uwu girl. They all sound the same. Like every character sounds the same to me. Whereas the Japanese voice acting, I can usually tell the difference. Oh, this voice actor, I remember this guy voicing for this person. I remember this person voicing for this character. I can't do that with the American voice actors because they all sound the same. I can't listen to a character. Let's say, I don't know, give me an example. Like, I listen to, what's a good example? Like, I feel like any example I bring, it's gonna sound like I'm, like, dissing them. I'm not, but, like, let's say Deku. Deku from My Hero Academia. I'm gonna listen to his voice, and I will never know what other characters he voices for. Because they all sound the same to me. Like, the same archetype voice, and it's just like, I wouldn't be able to distinguish. Like, oh, I've heard this voice actor, he voiced this. Like, I can't do that with American voice. And maybe that's a me issue, but regardless it's a me issue or not, that's why I prefer subs over dubs, because I feel like there's more characteristics. I know that's a pretty hot, I know that's a pretty hot take. I know that's going to piss off a lot of people, but that's just a reality for me. And I know when it's the other way around too. Because I've heard some people say that, well, every Japanese voices sound the same to me. And that's valid too. I guess that's valid because you never grew up with the language. So everybody sounds the same. You know what I mean? I mean, Yakuza series, there are a lot of voices I feel can't be English dubbed. That's true. But with all that being said, though, once again, with all that being said, I think that English VAs are getting way better. And every time we go into this conversation, I always have to bring up Dungeon Meshi, because English Dungeon Meshi, I love. Like, I still prefer the Japanese voice acting, but I can watch English Dungeon Meshi without zero stress. Like, they all have the uniqueness of the character, each character. I think they portray each character very well. And so, like, I have zero complaints with Dungeon Meshi English voice acting. So I do think that things are changing. Voice actings are getting way better than they were before. So Deku's VA has no range is all I heard from that. I feel like it does kind of fall down to that. It's like, do you have a range? And even if you don't have a range, like, there are a lot of voices that are what do you call it, memorable. For instance, I can only bring up Japanese voice actors, but for instance, the voice actor for Char in Gundam. This person has a very distinct voice that any Japanese person, at least people who, you know, actually has gone through anime, any person will hear his voice and immediately think Char, because he has a voice that nobody else has, and like the line delivery too, the way he delivers lines. It's like you listen to it, it's immediately Char. You know it's Char. You know, Lelouch too. Lelouch also has a very strong, you know, characteristic personality in their voice and their line delivery, that you listen to their voice, they can be saying, they can be talking in their own voice, or they can be like saying something that has nothing to do with the anime line, and you can still think like, hey, I've heard this voice before, you know? So it's kind of like that. Dio's, yes, Dio from JoJo is 100% a good example. You hear Dio's voice actor talk without even saying Dio's line. You immediately you're like, that's Dio. I can't do that with English voice actors. Like, I would listen to somebody's voice and I can't be like, it's this character. I think the only person I can do with that now is the voice actor for Clive in Final Fantasy 16. And that's because I hear his voice a lot nowadays. Like, I think he voices for like a lot of stuff. What was his name? I keep on forgetting. But I hear his voice a lot in many things. English Clive. English Clive. I think he's the only English voice actor that I can hear and be like, oh, that's that guy. Even though I don't remember the name. I'm sorry, like, something Star. Ben Starr. Ben Starr? Is that his name? I think that's his name. Ben Starr? Some English dubs just sound like they are just doing to do and fail in passion. Yeah. Ben Starr, yeah. When I hear his voice, I can immediately tell it's Ben Starr. Oh, and Kira Buckland. I can, you know, because she's 2B. I've heard her voice through, like, English Nier Automata, so... Kira Buckland also, I can probably, like, hear her talk and be like, that's Kira, you know? I can recognize a lot of dub voice actors. I might have to do with how used to... Yeah, it kind of does boil down to that. Like, are you used to hearing them? Sojiro English VA in P5 has pretty recognizable voice. Man, I gotta go back. I gotta go back to playing Persona 5. I haven't gone too far in that game. I started it, but you have to hear Christophe Lemon, the French dub for Inosuke. Oh god, dude, French Inosuke sounds so fucking cursed. That phrase itself, French Inosuke. You know what? I'm not against listening to him. French Inosuke sounds fucking cursed. We need Kason to make English voice VC for animes. I can totally see her. Like, I'm kind of surprised she doesn't do that already, you know? But anyway, so I don't think this is a hot take. I don't think this is a hot take, but I know this is probably a hot take to a lot of people who prefer dubs, obviously. So, anyway, next. This one's a hard one too. Netflix should stop calling Western adult animation anime if they aren't either written in Japan, directed by a Japanese director, or animated in Japan. I know anime just means cartoon, but still it's a bad marketing decision. Anime and cartoons are different. And the difference between an anime and cartoon is becoming a bit blurry nowadays. I think it's getting, I think the fine line between anime and cartoon is like, it's kind of becoming a gray zone. For instance, Netflix Castlevania. I don't consider that an anime. I consider that a cartoon. And the reason why I consider that is because it has more of a Western taste to it. A Western flavor to it. You know what I mean? I'm that person who feels that anime is anime when it's made in Japan, when it's directed by Japanese, or when the art style is something that you would see more in Japan. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's why it's hard. It's even hard for me to say, like, is Avatar an anime or a cartoon? You know what I mean? I actually Googled this. I actually Googled what is the difference between anime and cartoon. And there were so many takes for it. One was anime tends to focus on more serious topics, like a lot of like drama, a lot of sad, depressed things happen, whereas cartoon is more of a comedy, more of like a easy to watch relief, like you know what I mean. And I can kind of see that too. Okay, it's like, all right, cartoon is mainly for kids who have like, but then you got cartoons like what is it, Metalocalypse or like Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's like they're not really meant for kids. You know what I mean? Is the story deep and serious? No, they're comedy, right? At the end of the day. So I think it's really kind of like it's getting hard for even for me to distinguish the difference sometimes, Whereas like there's clear line. There's clear line like, Johnny Bravo 100% cartoon. That's not an anime, right? And then you got My Dress Up Darling 100% anime. That's not a cartoon, right? There's totally like a complete fine line, but there's also things that come in the middle where you're just like is the recent Devil May Cry Netflix, is that an anime or is that a cartoon? You know what I mean? It's really hard for me to say, like, I don't know. Just call it animated series if you don't want to call it cartoon. Because yeah, I can't really call Castlevania or Devil May Cry Netflix series a cartoon. I don't really see it as a cartoon. But is it anime though? And I'm just like, I would just call it an animated series myself. I wouldn't call it straight up anime. But it's like animated series. If that makes sense. It's really fucking hard. Like, I think there's like a really gray zone to that. I'm not sure what this person is referring to when they say Netflix adult animation. I'm just guessing they're talking about Devil May Cry or Castlevania or stuff like that. And then marketing that as anime. Like Johnny Bravo is a cartoon, Castlevania is an animated series, Bible Black is an anime. Connor, why'd you have to bring back Bible Black? So I do agree to a degree. I do agree to a degree that marketing Devil May Cry, Castlevania as an anime is kind of throwing off people, ? But obviously, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, marketing as an animated series. Maybe just straight up saying anime might be misleading though. So I'm kind of on the fence with this one. Because I myself have a hard time explaining to you all like what's anime and what's cartoon, But like you guys said, I think there doesn't have to be only one or the other. There could be the in-between of animated series. A more like ambiguous, is that the word? Like the more neutral term is animated series. Animated movie. If you can't really say which one it falls under. I don't think it has to be one or the other. You can just probably say it's an animated series, Beavis and Butthead, the anime, I'm gonna fucking off myself. But you do also have to remember that when somebody says anime, when we say the term anime, the first thing that comes to your mind is probably a Japanese anime art style, right? Like you would think the first thing that comes up to your mind would be whatever favorite anime you have, whatever Japanese art style that series has. And when somebody says anime, I don't think the first thing that comes to your mind is like Avatar or what else is there? I don't know, like Totally Spies or some shit like that. You know what I mean? So I think it's also the impression of that word at this point, like what comes to your mind when you hear the term anime. Because the funny thing is, like, when I drew, like, I don't know if you guys saw this, but like I drew Wednesday Addams. I did a doodle of Wednesday Addams last night, and I uploaded that on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. And on Instagram, somebody reacted to that saying, "Oh, is this an anime version of Wednesday?" So that means that certain people have a distinct image of what anime characters are supposed to look like. I didn't mean to draw her in an anime way, but my art style probably leans a lot towards Japanese anime art style, that when people see my drawing, they immediately think, oh, anime style something something, you know? So I think it's also the form of the art style, I guess. Like, is it something you would find in Japanese animation, or is it something you'll see more in the Western animation kind of thing? So that's why there's a term, or there's a phrase called anime style, right? Anime style something something, which means that there's a specific style that anime has. Would the person who wrote this hot take name Sakamoto Days as anime or adult animation though? Oh, Sakamoto Days is 100% anime. I don't know what this person's gonna say, but to be fair, they probably got that from one of those old how to draw anime books. How dare you? That's implying my drawing looks like that. You take that back, Connor. Thank you, Malco. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyway, that's my take on that. So I don't know, this is always a hard topic for me too. Because like I said, I had to Google, when I read this, I had to Google myself, like, what is the difference between an anime and a cartoon? So, and I knew this hot take was going to bring certain debate, or like certain, because I know everybody has their their own take, you know? It might not be far from each other, but I know we all have our own takes on this, so it's like, you know? Your art is great. I'm just saying weebs are gonna be weebs. That's true. See, that's a good point. See, is Panty and Stocking a cartoon or an anime? Right? People can argue, say, no, Panty and Stocking is an anime because it was made in Japan, produced in Japan, yada yada, right? But it has that Cartoon Network Powerpuff Girl art style. So some people will say it's cartoon, right? I think Panty and Stocking is a very good example of, like, is this anime or is this cartoon? Obviously in Japan it's considered anime. We call, you know, Panty and Stocking is 100% anime in Japan. But, you know, so what makes the difference, right? From what I've heard, Panty and Stocking is a mistake. No, Panty and Stocking is great. If you're not watching it, what are you doing with your life? Panty and Stocking is the only anime I've seen where I would say it's Western. It's definitely Western style, 100%. Now, it's not completely Western style though, because when Panty and Stocking and every other character transforms, they have like that anime form, right? They have the you know, the Powerpuff Girl form, and then they have the full-on body, you know, anime style. It's like a mixture, right? So, like, Panty and Stocking is an exception. It's in a really weird position. At this rate, create a genre named Cartoonime. Cartoonime sounds kind of cute though. And the debate would end. True. But I think we can just agree, because we don't have that term cartoonime, we can agree that animated series would be the best way to describe anything that's animated, you know? Animated series. If you don't know if it's anime or cartoon, just say animated series. You know, like, because there's nothing wrong about it. It's an animated series or animated movie, you know, if it's just a movie. So I think that's the fine line here. You would have anime that's anime, and cartoonime would be... There's like subgenres, right? That's when shit gets super confusing. That's when it gets too much. It's like, you got this, and you got the little subgenre, and this is like kind of a sister and a brother kind of thing. It's like... y'all taking this too far. Japanime? Oh my god. Why does that sound low-key like a slur? I know it's not a slur, but why does it low-key sound like a slur? It isn't meaningful to talk about Art style for anime, whatever the style, it's still anime if it's produced and created by Japanese people. Otherwise, you risk stifling Japanese artists' creative momentum. If I see Netflix making cartoon anime and I think I'm suing, you better copyright that term right now. We should go back to calling it Japanimation. I don't know why it sounds offensive. I know it's not, but it just fucking sounds offensive for some reason. But anyway, chat. I'm going to stop here because I actually need to get ready to go see the Demon Slayer movie soon. I have to eat dinner, and I'm gonna head out to go watch the Demon Slayer movie. I'll let you guys know how I feel about it tomorrow on stream. So I'm sorry for the short stream, but we're gonna pick it off. We're gonna pick it up from here tomorrow.